Hello YouTube. Today I am going to be talking about video games. In particular, I'm going to be talking about racing games. Forza is the one that I have up right now for a modern example, and older racing games and what modern racing games are missing out on from the older stuff. The older stuff's a lot of fun and I've been playing it a lot recently. So, the game that I've been playing from the past is a PSP game. So I picked up a PSP really cheap. I picked one up for $40, and all the games for it are also really cheap. They're all under like $10. And I picked up a few racing games. Some of the classics are like Need for Speed. Got one of those, and so this is the PSP I picked up. So I picked up Need for Speed Carbon, which is right here. And then I went and I picked up Test Drive Unlimited, which when I popped it in, I was amazed at how in-depth or large the game was. I mean, the size of these discs, the thing is only that big, and the game has arguably more to do than Forza, the new one. Not more to do online, but more to do in a game. So, for comparison, the map in Test Drive is much larger than the map in Forza, in any of the Forzas that I've played. And I've been playing since Forza 2 for the original Xbox. They didn't even have maps. They were just using racetracks back then. And I have up Forza's first release of any game was May 3rd of 2005, and Test Drive's first release of any game was September 5th of 2006. Forza came out a year before Test Drive, so arguably they have the excuse of, well, our idea was tracks, and that's all we were going to do. And Test Drive came out with, well, we're going to do a free roam, and you get to get your cars, you get to buy your house, you have to go and find the tuners for each individual car, which I find really cool. You have to drive around the map, and it's a really big map, so it takes a long time. They have cops in the game, which they don't have in any of the newer Forza Horizons, which I'm looking here, but I have it up on my computer. They only have cops in Need for Speed nowadays or GTA. Now, I don't think they could put the cops into a newer game like Forza. There's too many people driving around trying to have a good time, racing each other on the road and all that, and you wouldn't want the cops getting in the way of all that. But they added an element to Test Drive. Now, they're a little broken. They don't stop chasing you, like at all. It can take a half hour to like 45 minutes, we found, to just escape the cops. So as broken as they may be, they do add an element of the game where you have to be careful at all times where you're driving and how fast you're going, and if you're not, the race is on. And it can get pretty intense for a PS2 game, essentially. And as long as you're driving around the map like you have to in that game, the cops are going to be looking for you. And they record your priors and everything like that. It's pretty in-depth. They report on your location, report on the type of your car you're in, and you have to drive around a lot, so it's going to be something you're going to be dealing with. You have to drive to find, like I said, the tuners for each individual call. You also have to drive to... Sorry, I'm getting a phone call right now. From Wisconsin. Now I live in Wisconsin. You also have to drive to each of the individual car dealerships. So if you want to buy a Ford, you have to drive to the Ford dealership. If you want to buy a Porsche, you got to drive to the Porsche dealership. I don't think there's Porsches in the game, but same thing applies. Mercedes dealership, and they're all in different parts of the map as they would be in real life, with real buildings that you have to drive up into, and it gives you a very, I wouldn't say realistic. It doesn't look realistic at all. It's a very old game. But it gives you a feeling of accomplishment that new Forza doesn't, where you are working in the steps that you would in real life. Like, you can rent the car, you can go and test drive the car. The game's called Test Drive. So you test drive each of the cars that you want to buy, and they're a good deal of money, unlike they are in Forza. I mean, they're still expensive in Forza, but it's a lot easier to get money in Forza. So, special cars to me, like, for instance, in Forza, I've earned over $1 billion. So I have pretty much every car in the game. It's really hard for me to find a special car these days. So this right here is a car they just released as of like I think last week, and I got that. It's really easy to just pick up pretty much anything in the game, unlike in Test Drive. In Test Drive, you have a limited number of cars that you can hold in your garage at any specific time because you need to go out and buy a house. You can buy a house in Forza, but it doesn't limit you at all. It's for looks and like an appeal thing. So I have every house in Forza. It's kind of helpful to have a place around the map all over the place where you can just stop and work on your cars, but it doesn't really add anything to the game because you can fast travel anyways. But in Test Drive, wherever your house is, that's really important. You only get like one house, and however many cars that house has a garage to hold is important, because that's, if you don't have enough space, you're gonna have to sell a car. While in this game, I have over 300, I think 400 cars. I'm spoiled for choice, and after a while it gets kind of boring to just sit here and look at every single, Mazda that's available, and I have multiple of the same exact Mazdas in different tunes because I just have so much time and money in the game. I would have a lot more fun with the game if I had less money and I had a longer time needed to get each car. It would feel like more of an accomplishment than just going out and buying whatever I want whenever I want in the game. It's still nice to have the cars, obviously, have every single fast car that they all have different characteristics and personalities when you're driving them in the game, and I use the wheels so you get an extra feeling for each car. But it still takes something away knowing that it took 0 effort to get that car in this game, or it only took 3 races for, let's go find one, my Lamborghinis for this Reventon. There it is, the Reventon Forza Edition. Brand new car just came out, Forza Edition Reventon. You can only get it by doing a certain series of races in the game. Well, me and my buddy sat down and we did the races in about an hour, and it could have taken us less time than that, and bam, we have the car. In Test Drive, I finally have 4 cars, and it took quite a long time to get those. The first car you get, you use for quite a while before you build up enough money to buy another one. And the second car we bought, because I was playing it, me, my girlfriend, and my friend, we were all working together, and it took a while for each one of us to acquire a car, and then the game gave me a third car for free because I had done good at that point. Now, that's 4 cars, and I can only hold 2 more cars in my garage, so I'm going to have to start getting rid of cars in Test Drive. That is so appealing to me. These are my cars, in that game. They're special. They're unlike the cars that I'm going to be racing against. These are mine. I have my tunes on them, and I have them in my garage. While these cars, if I'm in Forza and I'm on the highway and I'm in my Reventon, chances are, if I'm racing and I'm beating everyone in my Reventon, 2 or 3 people are going to pull up and they're also going to have the same exact car, possibly in the exact same tune, because there's only one tune set that works well for each one of the cars to make it go fast, top speed wise or handling wise. So even if you do your own tune, it's very possible someone else will get one very similar to you. Now, I can't play the Test Drive game came with online capabilities. It asks me every time I start it, but I can't play with it now, and I don't think the game is missing out with anything for not having it. I think it'd be cool to play with my friends, but I'm pretty sure I can still do an ad hoc game. I have 2 PSPs, and we can just launch them and play together that way. While with Forza, you're constantly being bombarded with people that you may not want with you, and you can turn the online mode off, but then you miss out on some of the promotions in the game, and you also miss out with the fun that does come with having other people on the road and being able to race them, just drive by and honk at them and crash into them, or they crash into you, and you just have fun. But there are things that they missed or forgot to take from older games into newer games, and I think that was the difficulty. I think it was the time earned for each new asset in the game. And I think this goes for all games now, where in your battle royale, you don't work to pick it up, and the special gun, you might have to work a little bit to go get a crate that's in a field or something like that, but it's minutes, and then bam, you have the best thing in the game. While you're playing Fallout 4 back in the day, Fallout 3, sorry, back in the day, it took hours and hours and hours to get the nice stuff in the game, and then you felt really good about having it, and your friend would come over and you'd be like, hey, look what I have in the game. I have XYZ really special rare weapon, really special rare armor. This is what I had to do. It was a ridiculous. And you go in your story and you have a story about it because it took a long time and it was a difficult thing to do. Nowadays, it's, oh, do you have that weapon in Destiny? Of course I have that weapon in Destiny. Everyone has that weapon in Destiny. What's coming out next week? Oh, well, we're all going to do the raid and get that all together. Well, it's not special if every single person in the game has the exact same thing, or every variant of every gun. So that's my gripe